And welcome back from that break. Before we went for the break, I was updating you on some of the issues going on, including the preparations in Namugongo. What we do know right now is that a fire that gutted a building in Chengera is trying to be put out. The details will be coming up a little bit later, especially on the loss both of property and life. We hope there isn't any of that kind, especially when it comes to loss of life. The fire brigade will be at hand. Now, the Kickstarter on Friday is one that we dedicate to film, we dedicate to the arts industry and everything that might be able to form the kind of impetus that can build on existing progress, to be able to define film industry, the music industry, and everything that falls within that. So today we shall be asking the fundamental question: is film industry profitable in Uganda? Films have been around for a long time, but unlocking that potential continues to be a grave challenge. I'll be introducing my eminent guests who will be giving us perspective of that very shortly, but let me just go through what we have as the preamble. A film influences culture, politics, and the economy, and can shape the future of generations. In 2013, the Uganda Communications Commission, with partners, Uganda National Cultural Center, unlocked the Uganda Film Festival for the industry. The festival is an event that highlights and recognizes the various activities carried out by the Commission throughout the year. They include the film exhibition market, film trainings, film forums and workshops, film screenings, as well as the awards gala night. There's a lot to chew on. With me in the studio is usual suspect, Andrew Kagwa, journalist and commentator on matters of film, music, and the arts. I also have with me a filmmaker who is based in the United States, Mr. Hakim Ziwa. It's a pleasure to have Mr. Hakim Ziwa on the show this morning. I'll begin with you, Mr. Ziwa.
Yes.
Before we get to the nitty-gritty of understanding what potential we have in Uganda in terms of film, who is Mr. Hakim Ziwa?
Mr. Hakim Ziwa is, I would say, is close to a newcomer to the film industry. I've been underground for a while, but I would say right now I'm more active than previously. I'm a director, producer, and also an editor. Started off as a video editor in the first place. But right now I moved more to directing and producing. And right now I only have like 3 short films so far. Not moved to feature film stage yet, but that's the direction I'm moving to.
That's the direction you're moving. And you're based?
I'm based mostly in the United States, Boston to be specific. But I keep on going back and forth between Kampala and Uganda for the most part, because I still want to develop the film, my film career in Uganda as well. So I'm balancing the film career in Uganda and also in the US as well. Because I think the one in Uganda is more important than the one in the US.
All right.
Yes.
That's an interesting perspective. If you don't mind taking us through some of the projects you've been working on in Uganda.
So in Uganda, I've worked on 3 short films, 1 short documentary and 1 short narrative film. And one of the short documentaries has made it to the Uganda Film Festival in 2021, I would say, best documentary. And my recent project is Building 62. It's an action thriller short that's yet to come out in a month, July 29th. That's my recent project, and it's part of the best short film nominees, Uganda Film Festival 2023.
Okay, that's interesting and impressive. I think that's this is it.
Yep.
Okay. Can I have some sound? If I love to listen to. Hey, what is that lady doing in there?
If I was you, I'd think for a second.
That's interesting.
You give us what we want, and you get to spare your life and that of your friends.
Building 62 coming soon. Interesting there. The actors, I saw some familiar face.
Alan Kotos,
Alan,
Maureen. Maureen has been around.
Yeah, Maureen Mencha has been around. Yeah, sure. All right. What do you make of that short film, Andrew Kagwa?
But I've not watched.
You haven't watched it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because something I've never understood about the Uganda Film Festival is like they usually give prominence to feature films. They do not screen documentary films. They do not screen short films. They do not screen animations. Like
for the uninitiated, before you go any further, let me understand: documentary film, short film, feature film, animated, whatever. Just take us through.
A short film is a film, but it's short. It's something. Okay, it differs according. Depending on the market. Some markets it's something below 40 minutes, and then there are those where it's something below 30, and then there are festivals that will tell you they only accept short films that are between 5 minutes and 15 or 20 minutes. Yeah, but personally for me a short is a difference of a feature film, because a feature film is a full-length film which is about an hour. So for me anything below an hour
is a short.
Should be a short film. Okay. But again, I do not want to go into I don't want to enter cinema when I'm expecting a short film and it goes on for 40 minutes. Like I'm kind of preconditioned that the short is going to happen between probably 15 and about 20 something minutes.
All right, that's from an observer's point of view, but we have somebody who is doing this stuff. What should we look at? If, for example, somebody told me I'm going to watch a short film in the theater, should I give them more than 20 minutes?
So usually, excuse me, the short films that I've seen happen in theaters are usually 20 minutes plus. But industry standard, I would say short films, it's anything under 40 minutes.
Okay.
So, but some film festivals rather prefer something between 5 to 10. So the difference in what they screen in theaters around the world depends on what a specific festival is looking for. Some don't mind 30 minutes, some don't mind 40 minutes. But usually, at least for Uganda, I've seen some people screen short films in cinemas which are more than 30 minutes or 25.
Okay. Now, for the uninitiated, if you're looking at the industry and you want to unlock the potential for those that could be out there and have the talent, would you advise, for example, people to go for the short films first and then perfect that and then be able to go on to the bigger projects?
Me personally, I would go for the shorts first, because that's what I'm doing at the moment. Because the good thing with shorts that when you keep up with shorts, you're able to make enough mistakes by the time, because feature films really cost a lot of money.
That's right.
At least from what I've seen. And for me personally, I would prefer to start with shorts, and I would advise anybody start with shorts, so that when you get to the feature, everything, like at least you're 80% sure that some things are going to go right. And also short films also give you more experience, and also they help you create an audience, which I'm trying to do right now, because if I push these short films, you create an audience whereby in the future, if your film goes to bigger streaming platforms, you have people that can go and watch your film.
Okay. The film festival.
Actually, just to jump on what you just said, I disagree on him saying feature films cost a lot of money. Like all films cost a lot of money. Like all films cost a lot of money. Like it's a very expensive form of art. But personally, why I have a thing for short films is that in Uganda we still have a problem with storytelling, and storytelling is a skill you only develop when you keep doing it. There is that time when you are not skilled enough to tell beyond certain length, and we have very many of such filmmakers. Some of them are my friends. They've tried to stretch things and you've seen them struggle. Like you see a story struggle, like you're trying to watch it and you're seeing it struggle. So short film is a very, very, very good way to start. One, you perfect your art. By the time you're done making short films, you know how to make 90 minutes that are worth 90 minutes when every scene means something.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. You are buried in the thick and thin of it, and I'm sure when you identify actors like the ones we've seen here, it gives opportunity to those that might not be in the mainstream of the industry but have the potential, i.e. the talent. First, take us through the talent scouting process. When you come back to Uganda and you're doing these projects, and then you have to bounce back to the United States and perhaps do the fine-tuning and stuff like that, how is the talent scouting, and what is the pool that you have that you can identify and pick from?
So I would say usually when it comes to talent, I usually do some scouting through friends. And sometimes I incorporate my fellow friends as well. It's usually hard to do casting because usually the normal standard you do auditions.
Yeah, auditions.
And people show up. But for my case, it's usually very tough because I'm not always here. So I usually reach out to friends, and friends recommend friends, and the negotiation starts off before I even step here.
Okay.
So that negotiation helps me get to an agreeable amount with the actors and crew. And other people jump on board when I get here. Yeah, it's tough, but that's the only way I can make it happen.
Okay. Andrew, just take us through the history or the trajectory of the Uganda Film Festival for the last 10 years for us to understand how the industry is first and foremost benefiting as it ought to. When you see Uganda Communications Commission being at the helm of driving this, I see it as a regulator and not an organization that should be seen at the more like a poster boy for the film festival. How is this happening, or why are we at this point?
Well, I cannot explain why we are at this point or how the regulator came to
be the poster boy for
the poster boy, because I've covered the festival for 8 years. I think by the time I joined the newsroom, by the time I entered the newsroom, the festival existed. And I remember I almost apologized for the very first for my very first review of the festival. Technically we've had a very challenging relationship with the festival and UCC itself, because of the way I review it most of the times. One, I feel like initially UCC should be supporting other festivals, not organizing their own festival. Why, like a regulator organizing a festival, and then, because you see, the whole thing of regulating is wider than most people know. It includes what do they call it? It includes basically gazetting spaces. Say if I wanted to do a festival in the forest because that's the theme I want, I would need an arm of UCC, which is I think the Uganda Communication Council Commission to gazette that place. So like you're thinking, if I'm organizing my festival and part of the people that are regulating me, part of the people that are going to tell me this film is fit to run or not, are kind of UCC, and then they're also organizing their own festival, like at times it doesn't make a lot of sense. For me, that's how I see it, but of course we can't change it. They are here. So how we got here is because they regulate commission, which include TVs, media, and somehow they felt like that's their mandate, and yeah, we got here. Have we achieved everything we could say in the 10 years? The mere fact that I can go downtown and ask people what their best film has been this festival, and then they will be like, which festival? For me, that leaves very many questions, like what exactly are we doing? 10 years of doing this.
Hakim Ziwa, you've had the privilege of experiencing industry dynamics from both sides. You would readily agree, for example, that what he says is the typical arrangement you will find in a country like Uganda that is grappling to be or get to where it's supposed to be. When you see the rollout of festivals in Boston, in the United States, I don't want to debate the dynamics of the politics of the regulator and the actors, but how are festivals rather organized in that part of the world, and how do they effectively play into the needs of the filmmakers and all the other actors?
So I'd say festivals...
Something we can copy, perhaps.
Yeah. I'd say festivals out there, they really have strong foundations, and they respect different disciplines of film. And I would say there's some regulation, but this regulation is fair, I would say. And this festivals support each other. Festival organizers know each other around. They always communicate. You would find a festival organizer from one festival goes to their friends, another friend's festival to be a judge, or maybe help judge on the films. So there's more support and communication amongst those festivals. They're more organized, I would say, which I think something we should adapt in Uganda, whereby we don't need to be creating camps or if somebody organized, maybe, let me say, Icon once, or maybe UFF, or maybe Amakula Film Festival, or there should be like a network of film festivals within a certain area code. So the communication needs to be, because that makes the film industry grow and get stronger, and also bring in more parties from other countries to come and support as well, if they see us organized.
It's hard for them to network. Like I mean, it's hard to be friends with your
competitor.
Yeah.
No, not competitor, but I hope I do not say it wrong. But it's hard to be friends with like kind of your tormentor. No, like, to tell you the truth, I remember when I helped curate Amakula, and there was a film we could not screen, and the reason we couldn't screen this film was because it was about a musician who was taking on his government, and that musician wasn't even Ugandan, but it's just that the story was very familiar.
Related to the context.
So it becomes so hard to network with a person that's going to wake up and not give you a reason why you cannot screen a film at your festival, but they just tell you cannot screen this film, or they just choose not to get back to you until your festival is done.
Wow. And that is the funny aspect about the whole arrangement, where you see a regulator being the organizer and the poster boy for a festival. But let's leave the political dynamics out of this. When I see the litany of movies and films, including documentaries, that are done in Uganda, there is always fundamental differences. You can see and you're like, this one looks a little bit refined. It is not the usual Ugandan movie. And then there's that one that will come through and you're like, okay, here we are. That is typical Uganda. There is a difference. Is it quality? Is it knowledge in terms of production? You understand what I'm trying to say. Yeah. You can clearly know and say, this movie is better than the other one, or this film seems to be good on the eye. You talked about the fact that the story had issues of one that you saw. We can also sense it, even without the prior background knowledge of what goes on. And that creates a bit of, it kind of blocks the ability of our products to compete on the international stage and be part of the festivals that they ought to be. What can be done, or what is being done to ensure that that quality threshold is reached?
What's being done by who?
By the actors, the sector holders. Is it money?
No. Like, I think when the very first time I got professional schooling, like, say, to review theatre and film, was with two festivals. And of course, as I said, festivals network. One festival I applied for, but then the other one was a result of network. That was Durban, and then there was Balinale. Like, these are two festivals that have some sort of an attachment. Like, you find the bosses of the other one at this festival, and then the bosses the other side. So I think it was when I hosted a screening of a documentary film, and then the guys at Bernade were like, oh, by the way, we do have a class like the one you're in, because it was a press talent class where they are teaching mostly critics. And that's how I got to the other festival. And by the time I came back to Uganda to cover local films, I remember having that culture shock where you've been watching films from a perspective where people are rich, they have all the equipment they need, they have the support they need, and then you come back to Uganda and for a moment you're still thinking the way you've been thinking where people have it all, and now you forget that the people you're judging down here do not have everything.
You're back to reality.
And then you become very harsh at the beginning, and then you're like, you get a reality check. So at that time in 2014, the issue was they were technologically superior, we were not there. They had the better equipment. Today they still have the better equipment, but today everything has been compressed. You can get a 4K camera in a body of a DSLR that you're supposed to use to take pictures. You can get a very, very good 6K at dimensions. You can get a very good camera at money that you could not even think about in 2015. And then today with the internet, YouTube and everything, people have taught themselves things. Like one person, an example of that, Lukman is totally YouTube taught, and he says it a lot, like he taught himself on YouTube. So today we know how to do things, we know how to frame, we know how to shoot. The only thing that's stopping us is storytelling.
Zua, you are in the thick and thin of it. When it comes to resources, galvanizing them to be able to put production processes together, the technology is needed. It could be readily available on the other side of the world. There could be hiccups in Uganda. And then the talent. You could have two factors available and then one not. How do you play around that?
So I think it could be one step at a time. So previously we didn't have good cameras to shoot good films. But right now even a phone, a Samsung phone or an iPhone, people have iPhones. Those small little things are very, very, very valuable, but goes back to what he mentioned earlier, the education about storytelling. How you tell your stories. YouTube, right now, the internet is very affordable, I would say. There's the Friday thing that happens, I don't know what they call it, over the weekend thing. So I think that's what people
I don't know. I have no voucher for that.
I think filmmakers could use that opportunity of more affordable internet to educate themselves about telling stories, because we have the tools.
That's right.
We have the tools. And there's so many resources on YouTube on how to tell stories, because stories in film, how you tell them is very different from the way you would write a book or narrate to a friend. But there's so many resources on YouTube, because myself too, I've got so much knowledge from YouTube on how to tell stories. I've made mistakes in my previous short films, and I've been able to see from those mistakes and then learn from other people on the internet to learn how to tell stories. But also, we shouldn't hold ourselves back because of the money, because if you know how to tell a story and you have a good phone or also a good camera, you can always come up with small short films with what you have, with the skills that you've learned from YouTube on how to tell a story, and you can create an audience. YouTube is free. Upload those short films, create an audience, keep on growing. You never know who's going to see these films.
That's right.
And a good example is Lukman. He put in a lot of effort to do these films. He put in a lot of money, and he put things out there on YouTube, and guess what? Netflix was able to reach out, like, oh, we like what he's doing. There's so many, some people call them gatekeepers, or people that have the money, they're out there, they're watching. You never know who's watching, but I would say finance shouldn't be much of something that should hold us back. But we have the tools and we have free education on the internet. If we use the internet well.
Nearly free education.
Exactly, nearly free education.
And then I think we have friends. Like, friends are everything. If there is one thing I've come to appreciate about filmmakers, the resource they have that they rarely use, is that every filmmaker knows someone who knows someone, or they actually know someone who has a good camera. They know someone who has a lighting gear. They know someone who has a sound gear. And probably those people are not even doing anything at a particular time. And they are not working on something.
Okay. Gentlemen, talking about the power of storytelling, the Uganda Matters are I think it's some very good content, because the story is rich, but it's never really told the way we want it to be told. It's rich, monetizing, rich and shocking, but I think it can be monetized. Hakim Ziwa, Matters Day is tomorrow, and our team is on the ground trying to give us comprehensive coverage. I think it's something that you will find time and consider in terms of content. For now, let's go to our man, Stephen Mbide, who is in Namugongo for the latest update. Good morning, Stephen, once again.
Yes, it's a very good morning here from here in Namugongo. Of course, the talk of the nation now is the Matters Day that is just hours away from now. And here at Namugongo, there are so many checkpoints as you drive to, get into or walk into Namugongo Matters Shrines. Here is a second roadblock before you reach a third one, and then at the entrance, bamu ku bantu bano bakyatambula bayingira Namugongo. They are trekking either to the Anglican shrines or to the Catholic shrines. Era ngenda kubanga mbayitaayitamu bambulire abazze, mulimu abazze for business, while others are here for pilgrimage. Kanjogereko nyabo ogamba otya obaawa? Okay, that's one. Akambuuzeko mukulu soko je tuve ku bantu wano tuleko wano wali kamera yange wano ombuli ogamba otya? Bulungi sir. Gwe abantu badde manyi abantu saazi bani badde bagula Bible, bani badde bagula amazzi, bafuna amazzi ag'omukisa naye ate golese bino. Bitamula bitya wayene yameka 5,10. Abantu bagula Namugongo, kiki kyakolesa Namugongo? Nazekola. Bagula we bakyera kali wako 10 balina akagulya Chris Genyawo ekana ko 10 ne buno kati nga omuntu nga Arafat omanyi yetaga nga bumekanga buno tekuliko kipimo gonna ko yagala ko utwala buyamba ki kazi bukula emisuwa pitaiti kana aza mu lubuto kakola ebintu bingi nnyo naye omusujja mu abasawo bakugoba kikakasa ekyo nti kazi bukula emisuwa era kyakakasibwa dda wadino ddagala lya abo kati gwakakozesa bwe manjaga teguboola mukulu teguboola muto teguboola na mukulu omuto asobola olyako n'omukulu asobola olya mulondo. Okay, ngenda kati kano ngenda katwalira polisi genyi kano katereke sebo gambo tya bulungi mvawa mbe kyenjojo watambulide nakumeka zena moloka nyakulaba atambuze ebigere bye okusooka okulaba yenze bulungi wakudewa ekyenjojo watambulide nakumeka enaku 8 kyekyakolese Namugongo kusaba Katonda. Okay, ate
nze enva ekanungu 12.
Okay, mwebali kasuke mfuneka ati bazze ne ku byamaguzi tulabe business zo zitambula zitya wano Namugongo. Omukulu ono ye asuddewo emali ogamba otya boss?
Gendisewo mpola bagula mpola naye nga
bitambula. Sene mikofuna mudaala wano
anasudde emitwalo 3.
Emitwalo 3 osobola gijjayo kwatusigaze olunaku lumu olwaliyo n'olwenkya zinavaayo sente ezo?
Zijavaayo olwedde ezisinga zavuddeyo dda.
Weebale nnyo. Sebo gamba otya?
Nenva Kanungu nentambula enaku esande 2 nenva ekanungu.
Bigenze bitya ki ekisinga okuleeta Namugongo?
Okusaba.
Kyogenda okusabira?
Nsabira efamily yaffe amwe n'abalala n'eggwanga yaffe etunga emirembe.
Okay. All right. Good morning to you.
Good morning, sir.
What's your name?
My name is Mr. Joha Murenje. I came here to represent Tina International School of Beauty, and we are to showcase what we offer: tailoring, graphic design.
So for you, you are here for business?
Yeah, for business, yeah.
And what are you doing then?
We are an institution with the interior design, We have fashion design, we have tailoring, we have beauty course, cosmetology, and all that. Still, we are with the other worshippers because it is a Martyrs' Day, which is celebrated countrywide in Uganda.
And how is beauty, fashion related to the Martyrs' Day? I thought people would be here to worship and then congregate, but now you also bring in the fact of beauty and fashion.
Yeah, we are also helping so many students because we have almost 50% of our students are scholarship. So with this, we are trying to get also parents who are disadvantaged and also other people who might want to come and study, who can afford our courses. Yeah, so we are here for both cases, to get needy students as well as to get other regular students.
Are they responding?
Yeah, so far so good. We've been here for the last 2 days. We've got quite a number of people who have registered with us.
The name is?
Mr. Joha Murenje, from Tina School of Lubaga.
First speak to you,
Sebo.
Kadumula.
Jendi Sebo. Wasuzeyo.
Kadumula kachika.
Kano kadomola ke twalamu amazzi g'omukisa.
Ani yagamba nti amazzi ga mukisa?
Wakuba abafiira Katonda bakola ki? We bafiira. Kitegeera.
Kati go gatwala agenda kuyamba ki?
Kasita oba n'okukkiriza nti n'ogakola ki? Gawonya. N'ogatwala n'ogenda n'oganaaba, so n'oba n'okukkiriza owona.
Okay. Ngenda kwogerako n'abalala kansooke nfune ate abafumbi b'emmere mu kifo kino manye akatogo bakko kayidde dda nkoma nyabo ani atunda wano njala kulya ku mmere ndabe kanfune abali mu kwemiisa bo abakedde dda kyenkya bakifunye nyabo wasuutya amanya go
Kemgisa gore.
Wavuddewa
Fort Poto.
Fort Poto. Watambulira na kumeka kuve Fort Poto? Watambulira na kumeka kuve Fort Poto?
Taxi.
Oh, church. Oh, how many days do you spend on the way?
12.
Okay. And chala mwebaza kuboza kufumbira abantu kyankya nyabo osutya.
Yendi sebo.
Ekyenkya kyayidde dda.
Da.
Abantu balya.
Balya.
Ekyameka kyani akusenimeka.
Kyasatu.
Ng'ovaawo n'ekifo ky'enkoko oba byenda?
Byenda.
Nyalyo.
Yenze mkyala afumbe.
Kati nteekera enkoko enkulu. Enkoko nkulu njagala nnyo. Nyabo ogamba otya? How are you?
I'm fine.
What's your name?
Happy Angela.
Happy Angela. What brought you to Namugongo today?
Amangajena aburoko. Amusugu.
Okay, kale. Mama tusubira. Bira bulungi. Bodega ntika butandisi. Okay, kandabe ati omukulu ono sebo gamba otya?
Jande mukolo.
Kye kyakose Namugongo.
Nzize kusaba then no celebrating.
Kye ogenda okusabira?
Nzize kusabira nze mwenyini Katonda nsonyiwe ebibi byange then n'okusabira abali abatuyamba okufiirira obibi byaffe.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Kandabe ate balala webale nnyo boss. Okay. How are you? Fine. What's your name?
My name is Jacqueline.
Where are you coming from?
I'm coming from South Sudan.
South Sudan. You came on foot?
No, we came together with the bus. We are many.
Oh, you're many.
Yeah.
Okay. And how many days do you spend on the way from South Sudan?
Just one day.
1 day.
Yeah.
And what brought you to Namugongo? What do you hope to achieve from Namugongo now that you're here?
I just want to get a peace to my country and the good wishes to my family and forgiveness from God. Many things, they are heavy, but God the one know.
Wish you well and say good greetings to the people of South Sudan, also the ambassador, that is His Excellency Simon Deng George. All right then. Sebo, how are you?
I'm okay, how are you, sir?
Okay, Sebo. Linnya lyo ate gwe?
Nze Elvis Serute, nva mu Tina International School of Beauty. Naffe tuliko wano Namugongo nga tunoonya abayizi ku lw'essomero lyaffe. Tubaddewo tumanyiddwa naye tuzze naffe okubajjukiza wadde tubeera mu kusaba era nga bwe tuli abakkiriza naffe tuzze tukuŋŋaanire wamu n'abalala naye nga ekisinze era otuleeta kubajjukiza nti tina ekyaliwo era okola omulimu gw'amaanyi.
Njagala kumpepetamuko ku kaviiri kano
jangu ate eyo saabiisi ebeera ya bwerere ku ssomero.
Wano sijja tusobola gifunawo wano Namugongo.
Togenda gifunawo olw'omujjuzo ogubeerawo. Ekyo kye tugezaako okusomesa abantu nti ekifo ky'okoleramu kiteeka okuba nga kitegeke bulungi. Kati wano waliwo omujjuzo, nja kuba nkusala akaviiri bakutomere. Kakati wano tesobola tuteekawo ekyo naye bw'ojja ku ssomero nga NTV mujje kya bwerere.
And so far bibeera bitambula mmwe abali mu fashion babiti n'okwekolako amasomero biki biki.
Kyovola nti no tukomyewo kubanga ennaku zino private schools government etunyigirizaamu nnyo. Kati naffe tuzzeeyo wansi tuddemu tubajjukize olwa skills zino kubanga ensi yaffe gyetunudde etunuulire skills. Kyetuva tugamba gavumenti teyeerabira bano abakolaki ababeezezaawo eggwanga kubanga n'omufumbi oli ffe tumusomesa. Bano bola abatunda engoye tetwagala nnyo batunde za bweru tuzitungire wano tusobola engatto tusobola kubanga ne president ayagala nnyo buy Uganda build Uganda.
Kati mwenga abateekateeka bino oli omukulu angambye abasasudde emitwalo 3 nammwe muli musasudde kubanga ndaba mutambula butambuzi.
Era okufuna ekifo kyonna wano otandikira mu kakadde kubanga tuli mu maduuka g'abantu. Kati ffe bwe tuteekawo tent abantu tebagenda kusobola nabo kukola. Era gamba nange sooka onfunireyo mmanye nti wiiki
bavudde mu maduuka gaabwe olw'ekino.
Yes. Baggalawo amaduuka ne bagamba olw'omujjuzo tetusobola kukola. Kati bw'agamba teekawo tent olina okumusasula.
Kino kizza amagoba omuntu omupangisa n'ajjamu ebintu bye gwe n'oteeka. Kinazza amagoba mu nnaku zino zokka tusigaza olunaku lwa leero na lwa nkya. Kinazza amagoba.
Ku bano be tubapangisizaako tekizza magoba kubanga oyinza okwekanga oli abadde akola akakadde olunaku teba nti abasinga oluguudo engeri lubeera luggale basigala waka n'agamba nti kankireke.
Ekisema kinyala okubuuza kyekya ebizigo bye tukozesa mulimu ebijingirire bingi bigenda byonoona ensusu z'abantu. Abantu ajja agenda mu saluuni agenda agala kwetereeza kukola lususu lulungi lwakola nviiri nnungi omukyala wiikendi yambaga n'avaamu ng'ate ebizigo bimwokyezza.
Ekireeta ekizibu ekyo baganya okukkiriza amasomero agasangibwawo okukwata omulimu gwago. Kati buli omu atandikawo mu saluuni ye kye yasoma kyayagala kwetakuwa kintu kiri professional. Kyova olaba nga Tina International School of Beauty tugezaako okukomawo wansi tuzzeewo omutindo nga gulina okubeera. Serute Elvis.
Webale nnyo Serute. Tuli Namugongo abantu abazze okulaga of course okwolesa ebyamaguzi byabwe mulimu abazze okufuna amazzi ag'omukisa what they call holy water and that is between them and their faith. Of course others have come here for their prayers and I want to get one last person to understand why that person is trekking all the way from wherever he is coming from okujja wano e Namugongo. Njogereko ne taata ono. Okay, Sebo kugamba otya? Mama muli mutya?
Yetulise muwiride Mbale ndi wa Mbale.
Bavudeyo ku bigere?
Nedda napakedde.
Ono
muwala wange second born yabeera eno.
Oze musabira kufuna mwami?
Alina.
Alina ye. Mane bagenda mufunira. Okay, thank you so much. I wanted to make sure that this lady, if she's here to pray for her husband, I wanted to make sure that my director there, Dan Sebachi gets be free to come here at Namugongo. This is what's happening here at Namugongo. Ogamba temunafuna sente?
Nafuna sente sebo.
Mukutunda?
Sente ntono nnyo tunafuna sente abantu bakabaavu.
Musigaze olunaku lumu lwa leero na lwa nkya.
Katulabe naye nga mbeera ekyali mbi nnyo.
Wataddemu sente nga mmeka?
Miliyoni 1.5.
Okusubula engoye zino?
Miliyoni 1.5.
Osubira kujjamu sente mmeka?
Njagala obukadde 2.5.
Ziyinza okuvaayo?
Zivaayo naye sisuubira kubanga naye obudde buweddeyo.
Ogenda sooka ogende kwali mu bimala okusaba nakiyanja?
Yesuwa ninze enkya nga bavaayo.
Kati kakano mbalinya pisa tekasola motoka kano naye kamuyiyeemu ayagala nnyo ka red.
Kano bwe kati? What?
Akuwa ekyebiri. Okay, that is what's happening here. People are negotiating and they want to walk away with something. At least they'll have to remember that they bought it from Namugongo during the Matters Day celebrations. Of course, that is just hours away from now. Stephen Imbido Fefe Chibuga will now take you back to studio for Romeo, for Chrissy Genyi, sorry about that, and Priscilla Regina Naroga as we celebrate and commemorate the Matters that is 3rd June.
All right, Stephen Mbide there. Many thanks for that live broadcast on location at Namugongo, where preparations ahead of tomorrow's Matters Day celebrations are underway. There is a beehive of activity, business, and of course, they are the faithfuls that made their way from across the country and even beyond Uganda's borders to come and reflect on their faith and to pray for peace and anything else that they think is pretty much important. Allow us to return to studio right now and continue with our conversation, but build on the knowledge that we have just gotten from Namugongo. Andrew, looking at the Matters Day celebrations and the euphoria that it offers us on an annual basis, if I were a filmmaker or somebody within the industry, I would consider thinking about this. The story of Uganda Matters is so rich and ought to be told in so many ways that even if the entire breadth of the industry chose to tell this story their way, as long as the facts stay clear, we would have content.
Yes, that's right. We would have content, but you also need context. Like
sure.
One, the Uganda Matter is it's a very unique story. Like if you're supposed to tell it, you need to have a global mind as you're thinking about making such a story.
That's right.
Because if you make it when you're only thinking Uganda, you have a danger of making a story that can mostly be consumed here. And a very expensive story that can only be consumed here. Why I emphasize that is we have one capital city. That capital city has 3 cinemas. Those cinemas are still not so popular among locals, and film always makes its money from cinemas. Like at the moment, I know people will talk about Netflix and the rest.
Yeah.
But truth is, Netflix cannot even tell you whether they're actually making the money back. Like studio films that are going through cinemas can actually tell you they made their money back. As a Ugandan, most of the times you're thinking, I need this film watched by people to make my money back. So if you're looking at throwing at about 300 million on such a project of the Uganda Matters, you need to think very global. You need to think of a story that can be consumed and accepted by Ugandans, but can also be consumed by Kenyans, and they can fill cinemas for it, such that you can spread your risk. Because if you're only looking at Uganda, like I said, we only have one capital city, which means all the money is here. Like after about 20,000 Ugandans have seen that film, you've almost exploited the entire cinema-going people in this country.
Talking about capturing the context to be able to resonate with the rest of the audiences outside of Uganda's setting, Hakim Ziwa, I think this is something that you can readily use, because the Uganda Matters story is embedded in religion and faith. Faith is universal, religion is universal, and that's why you see so many people coming to Uganda. They don't really understand the specifics of these guys and what happened, but they are told they died because they believed. That is enough to create enough impetus for you to do a project quickly.
Yeah, for me, from my perspective, I agree with what you're saying, but on the other hand, in my perspective, I think since it's there's so many stories around it, and it's very powerful. Yeah, it's something that needs a good budget. A good budget, because I've had there's other theories around the same story, and I think in order to exploit all these theories, because I would see it from what we call a fiction, a series of fiction films or a series. Yeah. So I would say we would need some people, a team of people to get together, see how to, the best writer, best director, or whoever that we see is appropriate for that project. It needs some collaboration.
That's right.
To be more organized, to tell that story, all those stories, and some good funders, people with good money to jump on board. Otherwise, if we try to kind of just push it in small money, it might not come out really well. And that we don't want people from outside our country to come and tell our own
They're
stories.
about to, because the nature of publicity the Uganda Matters June 3rd gets, outsiders are about to come and write this story, and when they do, we'll look and say, but we knew that. And then by the end of the day, like you say, I think it's down to the fact that money is very much. When you talk about profitability, people are looking at money and how much they can go back home with. When it comes to employment, how many people are earning a shilling or two from the industry? Audiovisual industry apparently employs some 5,000 people directly and 10,000 indirectly. I want to begin with you, Andrew. You could be having an idea when you contextualize this. Are people making some money?
I think those statistics are wrong. Those ones.
Yeah.
Because the audiovisual industry is a bit large. And when you're looking at the audiovisual industry, you're even looking at people that are making weddings, that are shooting weddings, people that are shooting music videos, people that are shooting adverts. Now, first of all, when it comes to this entire industry, it cannot work without food, it can't work without makeup, it can't work without costume. So you cannot tell me they're just 5,000, because at the moment
there are two words here you should take
directly
and indirectly.
Yes, like makeup artists are directly
employed
in the industry.
Yeah.
When you look at the moment, if I'm to just look at, say, the 4 productions that I know that are happening at the moment, telenovelas. Okay, Prestige wrapped, but of course there is Subi, there is Sanyu, there is Damali. Subi and Damali are yet to premiere, but production is on. And all these shows, each of them have more than a director. Each of them has a cast that's beyond 10 people. It's a cast of more than 20 people. We are looking at 3 shows. Now, one thing you need to realize is that the people you see in front, the people you see on your screens, are the least number of the people on the crew.
That's right.
Like, the people that make a film, the people you see on TV are the least, because when you start looking at the makeup artists, you look at the people that ensure that this camera is moving, camera B is on, camera A is on, the people on the sound, the people on the grips, like, these are very, very, very many people. And now, when I'm talking about the 3 shows, I'm just talking about the shows that are on Power Magic Prime. But then there are people that are working elsewhere. I know there are shows that are paid for by, I think, Star Times, for their Makula. There are people that are doing independent shows. Some are putting them on YouTube. So it's quite a large industry.
Yeah, before you, let me just interject. These stats offer us a perspective on the ability of the industry to offer employment.
Yeah.
We are not necessarily questioning, or I'm not being interrogative and saying, hey, let's bring out the fact that, yes, the makeup guys or ladies, I know guys also do makeup, I shouldn't just, it's a case of everyone else. The industry right now, if it is to structure, for example, to say the makeup artist at a video makes this kind of money, do we have something clear that we can use to know how much people might be earning, for example? Or it's a case of, I do my makeup better than Chris, so I can charge the price I want?
At the moment, we've not come to that professionalism, and it's mainly because, one, when it comes to many departments of film, we are still very mixed up. That's everything that's when it comes to the things that are film related on a set, we are still very mixed up. It's easier to find a director who is also a cinematographer, who is also the editor, who's also very many things.
Who's also the cashier.
Because of that, it becomes so hard for every person for these people to actually come together to say this should be the standard we should be earning.
Okay.
We've been very late on federating on associations. Okay, we've created associations, but they do not know how to deal with the industry. So they are mostly associating instead of lobbying for the industry. But at times you understand them because you're asking yourself, why are they lobbying to? Like, it's easier for producers to lobby to the people that are giving them money. This could be the TV stations, but at the moment you have technically one biggest player who is Power Magic Prime. It's easier for actors to lobby to their associations so that producers can give them more money, but at the moment you have actors who are doubling as producers. So like, am I lobbying to myself like, hey, when you're dealing with Chris, give him more money? And yet Chris, when Chris also becomes a producer, because he's also an actor somewhere, he will also underpay some people. So at the moment we are still a very mixed.
Let Hakinzwa just take us through what appears or ought to be something better organized in the United States, specifically Boston, where you're operating. Well,
sorry. For me, I would consider myself as entry level within the Ugandan film industry. So the little that I've seen, I think compared to what I saw previously before I was in the film industry, I think there's been more people employed within the film industry as compared to previously. The exact statistics are not known yet.
Of course, we're also still struggling to get to have them.
Just like you mentioned, many people wear many hats, which is not the case in the US, because in the US, somebody specifically stays in this, and that's how they beat us. Because they focus on specific roles and they get so good at those roles, they have associations for maybe producers associations, Actors Guild, they have
video editors,
American Society of Cinematographers, or all that kind of stuff. They're more organized, which we need to adapt. But we're getting there, because right now I would say people are earning but again it goes back to the money, because they're earning right now because outside parties like MultiChoice have decided to inject money, which I think something like the UCC has also started recently. They have like a film fund thing. But I think if the government of Uganda invests more and invest more in filmmakers in Uganda, more people will get employed within the industry and we could get more organized.
All right, well, that's interesting. I hope I can also find a role, especially when things get better. I think voice narrators are making some bit of money, aren't they?
Yeah, definitely.
Documentary films.
So, Kanekubira Karango for voice narrations, and you have that documentary that is 40 minutes, and you want a narrator? Come and talk to Chris Higenyi. We shall give you the voice and anything that comes with it. We are nearing the end of this conversation, but I have something that I need to bring to your attention. It was written here that tourists from far-flung places, including the United States, Germany, Switzerland, have watched The Last King of Scotland. They have also watched The Queen of Katwe, and meaning we are reaching the global audience. And when people have watched those movies, do they quickly relate them to Uganda, or they appreciate the work of production that was done by the more sophisticated team? How does Uganda come in quickly when somebody out there watches The Last King of Scotland, when they watch The Queen of Katwe?
I would say, I have different feelings about that, but anyway.
Share them, please.
So I think, first and foremost, the people that told those stories were some Ugandan actors there. But what happens when people come from out there to tell our stories, they have their own narrative that they're trying to push.
That's right.
So in that sense, it wouldn't be the best representation of Uganda in any way, but still, it's still something. It's something on the table. We can always appreciate it. But if we could tell our own stories in the near future, then probably it will be a better representation of what Uganda is about and Ugandan stories. Yeah, that's what I think.
Andrew?
Well, like I remember having a lot of issues with calling Queen of Kato a Ugandan film because it's a Disney film.
It's a Disney film.
Told in a way they wanted it to be told. There was a lot of poverty showcasing in that film.
All right.
So I do not really think when people look at that film, the very first thing that comes to their mind is Uganda, and or them thinking we should actually go to Uganda and make a film. Like the film did not even have a Ugandan AD.
Wow.
Like it was totally foreign. But yeah, I think we need more collaborations. We need collaborations that are engineered by us, engineered by Ugandans, and this could only be films where we have some say in the making.
That's right.
And unfortunately, some of the people that can make such things happen could either be the corporations or through government support. Through government support is, are we going to have enough lies? Okay, if say a Hollywood filmmaker is in Uganda to collaborate with us, are we going to give them some tax rebates? And what comes with the rebates? Because for South Africa, you will get a tax rebate, but it's not just a tax rebate, it will come with conditions. You're going to hire this number of South African actors, you're going to hire this number of South African crew. Like, I think we should be heading that direction.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree, especially with the tax rebates. A good example would be Boston. At the moment, Boston is bringing so many films, and it's because they jumped on the trail of tax rebates, where they same states like what's it called? Atlanta is in Georgia, state of Georgia.
That's right.
California. They all have good tax rebates, so they pull in more filmmakers to come. It creates more jobs, and just like you said, if there are certain big studios that are coming to make good films within Uganda, if the government could, instead of like pulling more money from them, maybe put some tax rebates so more studios can come and collaborate with Ugandans, because if those collaborations help Ugandans have control on that narrative in a way, so that we tell better African stories in Uganda.
All right, interesting perspectives there. I would like to give Hakim Zua the last word on this, specifically because I want to understand, away from your own projects that you are working on, are you providing spaces for others? What kind of collaboration are you into, especially when it comes to nurturing talent?
You mean in Uganda? In
Uganda, yeah.
In Uganda, at the moment, I'm not so active in that sense, but I would say starting from the film that I just shot recently, from the pool of talent that is already existing in Uganda, I've been able, because I'm very specific with the way I would like to shoot my films. So some of these talents from the already existing sets like Sanyu or Prestige, they've been able, because before I shot the film, I was able to take them through a series of training on the way I would like, because I tried to stay away from the camera as much as I could. So in that way, if with the already existing skill sets, they've been able to add some knowledge on different ways of shooting action film, for example. And also actors as well, because in the Building 62 film, there's a lot of fighting, a female fighting with a male. Most of them, like Alan, it was the first time to experience that. So I took them through a series of training on how to fight on camera in cinema.
All right.
Yeah.
Interesting, how to fight on camera. That is pretty much important. We've had or seen when somebody swings the punch, and then the sound that accompanies the punch is, somebody's like, really? Does a punch really sound like that? But anyway, movies are movies, and of course the film industry has a lot to offer. As we depart, allow me ask my producer to play us Building 62 that we saw at the beginning. This time around, we want the sound on it so we can feel a bit of what the projects that Mr. Hakimzwa is working on as we wind up this program today.
Listen, I don't have much time. Just go and retrieve as soon as possible. It's your choice. If I was you, I'd think for a second. You give us what we want, and you get to spare your life and that of your friends.
Well, thrilling stuff there. You can, of course, watch. I think somebody can go on YouTube and they watch. That is a trailer.
Yeah, that's a trailer. July 29th.
July 29th.
2023.
All right.
Yeah.
Greetings to Mona.
Oh, thanks.
We'll see you next week. That will do it.
Yeah, I'll do. Well, are we still?
All right. On behalf of the entire team that is responsible for putting this together, I'm Chris Higenyi. Priscilla Regina Naluoga is struggling to be fit, but of course our prayers for her very quick recovery and to be in the best of shape for next week, Monday to Friday. I'll be looking forward to seeing you. For those that are going to Namgongo to celebrate Mother's Day tomorrow, please adhere to the guidelines that have been put by the security, especially the traffic, because at the end of the day, we all want peace, order and security. Happy Mother's Day is all I can say for now.